Hello and welcome to Earth Trifle. In the previous video I showed you my pallet breaker and we started taking apart some of these pallets up there. Now that's all very well, you know, it makes light work of it, but you still get left with pieces of wood like this with nails in, and they have to be removed. Well, they don't have to be. You might choose not to remove them, you might choose to get your hanger and just chop them all off because it doesn't affect your project. But if it does, you want to get rid of them, don't you? So what we're going to do is we're going to remove a few nails. I'm going to show you how I do it. Some of it's pretty obvious, but there are some techniques that can get you out of a bit of a pickle. So that's what I want to share with you. Yeah, because I've done this for a while now, and I've learnt by my mistakes. You do that, you know, after a while. You really do learn by your mistakes. So let me put this pallet breaker that I made down on the floor. Made it with a little bit of scaffold too, a bit of older trampoline and some bits of old angle iron and a couple of older shutter hinges, you know, strap hinges. You know, I use what we got, you know. It's handy when you got a welding and you just weld them together. Stick bits of metal together is really handy, you know. So okay, there we are, be like a proton, that's what you got to be. Yeah, anyway, so we've got bits of wood. Now, one quick tip and one trick is to, instead of actually trying to take the nails out, removing the nails, you could get your skill saw, a saw, whatever skill, it could be jigsaw if you like, or sabre saw, whatever you got, and just run along the pallets, and you can remove all the bits of wood in between the rails, and you end up with loads of short bits of wood. Okay, that's fine, but you've still got to remove the nails out of this piece of wood if you want to use it, or cut them off. Well, that's another problem, but that's not what I really want to talk about. I want to talk about this situation where you have a piece of wood like this, still has the nails in, because I've used the pallet breaker to pull the piece of wood off the rail, hence that piece, but I've been left with a piece of wood nails in it. So how do you get rid of those? Well, one simple way, and you go, I know what you're going to say, oh, that's flipping obvious, but there's a little trick I want to show you in a minute on a different piece of wood. But the most obvious way to get rid of these nails is literally to grab your hammer, if I can find it. Oh, here it is. There it is. There you go, I've got my hammer. And the most obvious way is to tap them through, isn't it? You know, you just tap them through like so, and then you end up with the heads poking through, and then you just use your claw hammer, and then you just rip them out. Yeah, obvious, isn't it? You see what I just did there? You see that magnet? That's what you want. You need a magnet like that, and then you get rid of your nails instead of end up on your driveway. So that's the first little tip. Get yourself use a magnet or a magnetic tray. Otherwise, if you use a pot, the likelihood is the pot's going to end up on the floor, and like we are here, this is our driveway, or part of the end of our drive. So I don't want any nails in the drive. I'll get punctures, so you don't want that. So these ones are easy. These are nice short nails, like those. So you can just tap them through like so, and you can easily remove the nails. All right, okay, we'll just finish this board off. Just do this one, so it's really quick and easy. And like I say, use your magnet if you've got one. If not, use a pot. But, you know, I would prefer to use a magnet if I was you. If you've got one. Obviously. Just tap them through. So that's one board done. That's really easy. So, there is a situation that you could end up with, right? Oh my goodness, I just dropped a nail on the floor. Oh no, I don't want to do that. Oh, there it is. Back off that. Oh, found it. If not, I'll be using the magnet to find it. If you get yourself a sea searcher magnet, they're very good for that purpose. Well, I'll just get this attached to a cord and I drag it over the driveway and it picks up all the old nails and little bits of metal and stuff. Okay, so that's one board done. That was really easy, wasn't it? Because the nails were relatively short, which seems a bit mad in a pallet really, but anyway, they're relatively short and they're easy to tap through. But there's a but. So, on the pile that one goes, ready for the next one. Now we've got this one over here. Oh, different situation, because these nails are long. Oh, platoon. Well, yeah, they're much longer. Now, the problem with that is, every time you try and hit them, you might be lucky and be able to, you know, if you're like me, I've got quite a bit of experience with a hammer, so, you know, I know how to work it through. But if you haven't, you might end up accidentally bending the nail over, and then how are you going to tap that through? It's just going to keep twisting around on you. It's going to be an absolute nightmare. Yeah, you don't want that. That's a pain in the neck. It really is. So there is a technique that can save you, and then flip an aggro if you know what that technique is. If your nails are long, and they are problematic. Drop that one on the floor now. Grab that. Grab it while you can and chuck it on your magnet. Yeah. Right. Now, we have this nail here that's poking through, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a pair of bolt cutters. Your side cutters will work. You'll be surprised. You nip through them with a pair of side cutters, like wire cutters. You nip them and they'll just snap off. But don't go hard up. What you want to do is just bend it. So you know that if you hit it again, it's like to bend over again, so you create metal fatigue. Just cut that off it, but not all the way to the bottom, near the top. Yeah, but we'll leave about 3/4 of an inch, about 20mm. About there, 18mm, something like that. If you bit fall on the floor, you see where it lands. Pick it up! Don't leave it, don't forget about it. Now that nail's short, and because it's short, you're much less likely to bend it over. You just tap that like so, and it comes straight out. It's a bit of a no-brainer. It's really, really simple. But sometimes you don't want to worry about taking the nails out. You think to yourself, well, I don't mind if the nails left in, but I don't want them poking out. So one thing you can do is, if you've got nails poking out like so, you can just cut them off flush. You could use, say, a pair of side cutters and cut them. What you'll find is you might not be able to nip right through it in one go. So you squeeze it, bend it on either side, bend backwards and forwards. You'll create metal fatigue and it'll snap off. Don't take seconds, all right? If you have a situation though, which I did actually yesterday when I was doing this, I had a bit of a situation. So there's another. See what's happening there? That's what happens. If the nail's too long, that's what happens. And that's, good demonstration that is. In real life demonstration, that one. So then I'll just nip that off, like so. Slowly does it, because I don't want to end up on the floor. Yeah, so I can put it on here. I don't want nails in my driveway. So okay, we'll nip that one out there while I was at it, because that was, it happened. And that's right in a knot, that one is. So that's probably why it was being a bit of a pain to come through. It's put a lot tighter. Now sometimes your pallets won't be a bit of old larch or hemlock or whatever this is made from, some sort of pine or fir. Well, that's obviously a lot easier to work with. But sometimes you'll have pallets that are made of hardwood. Now I've had pallets made out of purple heart, which is a Brazilian hardwood, and it's extremely tough. It's called, it's one of the ironwoods, so it's purple heart. And when you cut it, it's brown, because it's like a lovely purple colour. It's a lovely timber, it really is, but very, very hard. And nails don't generally want to come out of it. No, they really don't. So you might have another situation then where you have all these flipping nails poking through your piece of wood, such as, I'll find a board now with nails poking out. There you go. When your nails poking out like so, maybe there's some there and then some there, and you don't want to go through this palaver of taking them out because it doesn't bother you. Well, just get an angle grinder if you've got one and just cut them off flush, or use some side cutters and break them off. So that's that way. Yes, one way you can do it. The other way is if, for instance, I think I've already mentioned it, or was it in my previous take? It might have been previous take. It's if you end up with, you have a pallet, you use a skill saw, like a circular hand saw, and you can cut between the rails of the pallet, and you end up with a shorter pieces of timber, which might be ideal for your project. For me it is, because we're using it for making bird boxes, bird houses and owl boxes and stuff like that, and they don't need to be that long. So just the distance between the rails, but you do end up with this, and this is quite a chunk of timber. Why would you want to waste that? Now sometimes you might think to yourself, well, I don't need to worry about taking the nails out, because this will be a bit tougher, because there's more nail in the wood here. So what you might end up having a couple of situations. So another tip coming up. One is you could just cut all these off, like I said earlier. Bash this with a hammer. Literally just bash it off a hammer. So you just end up with. I don't want to come off now. Don't want to come off now, look. There you go. So you just end up with the nails sticking out like that. And then what you do is you can then cut them off flush. Or you can attempt to pull them out with a claw hammer. The problem is these ones are going to be a lot deeper and they'll be quite tough to get out. But because they're tough to get out, you might end up ripping the heads off. And you end up with just like a little spike sticking out. Now that's a problem, because it's going to be very hard to get your nail out. If that is the case, if this happens, you want some nail pincers like these. Yeah? And I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, because I don't know how long these nails are. and then you should be able to pull your nail out with your pincers like that. You know, pull it out that way. I think this is quite long. These are quite long nails, so I need to put this in a vice or something to do this. And also, I suffer carpal tunnel syndrome, so I can't really get much grip. Oh, I am doing it. Let's come out. So it's a bit tougher, but if you've got no head on your nail, it might be your only option. It's coming. You might have to get to a stage where you have to push it to one side like so, so it comes out the side of your pincers, or you want something to rest on. It could be the head of your hammer even to lever against, otherwise the head gets in the way. And that should come out. There you go. It wasn't too long. Sometimes they could be, obviously if you look at that nail that I pulled out earlier, they could be considerably longer, and then they're a bit tough to get out. And also they could be ring shanked nails. Now, have I got a demonstration of ring shanked nails? No, this one here is what you call a twisted nail. It's got a twist in it. It's like think of a corkscrew twist in that nail. I don't know if you can see that on there or not. That makes it harder to pull out for a start. But then you also get ring shank nails. Like these ones are quite short, mine, so they're not really a problem. The ring shank nails have loads of little, how to put it, like those little rings going around the nail. The ring shank nails are often used on polytop nails, used for plastic fascias and stuff like that. But the idea, because they go into end grains, you see, end grain wood. This isn't good end grain wood, but the nails are short, so the ring shank gives it a little bit more durability because the nails are short. It's a bit silly really, but yeah, it'd be better off having longer nails. But they're quite hard to get out because it's almost like barbs, because the rings go in a certain direction. They tape it in. You won't be able to see it on there, but each of those rings are tapered in like a direction. So what happens is like little barbs. So we try and pull it out. It's actually a lot tougher. But yeah, so that's what you might need to do to remove your nails after you've dismantled all your pallets. Or you might do it as you go on piecework, like I'm doing. And if you get a situation you've got no heads, you'll need some pincers like this. That is a bit hard going. If you can get a longer handled pair, these are quite old. These are old Elliot Lucas ones. These are quite ancient. But you get ones with longer handles. Makes a lot more sense. And you get more leverage on them, so you can grip more. Because what happens is it tries to slide up the nail. So it can get a bit tough to do. And that's that one's not too bad. So if it's not too bad, you'd be better off using if the head ain't come off, you'd be better off using the claw hammer. So anyway, that's what I've got to get on with doing. I've got to. Hold on, what come out there? Come on, you. Change direction if you have to. So gripping it. There you go. I ain't got much grip with my hands these days because I've had an operation in my hands. So both of them called carpal tunnel syndrome. So basically had to gouge out. Got a couple of scars there, one there and one there. So the gouge it, make room for the nerves and the tendons. So anyway, that's what I do when I want to take out the nails. It can be relatively easy. Sometimes it can be a right pain in the neck. But there are other options. If you've got a stubborn nail, you can either just use the angle grinder and chop it off, or you can cut it off a bit shorter so you can tap it through, as long as you've still got the head on your nail. That's what you'll be careful of though, is you don't end up in a situation where you haven't got a head on the nail, because it makes it tough even harder, and then you've got to use the pincers. And doing that all day long will hurt your hands. It does, honest. Promise. It will. Yeah, definitely. So, if you want to get yourself some free wood, lots of these brickos or DIY places, you see some boards down there, see them? They're ones I've done already. There's some I prepared earlier, and there's some I've got to get on with. Yeah, and I've got a load more coming, so that's good. It's good, and it's also a pain in the neck, but there you go. It has to be done. So if you want to get some free wood, ask at your bricko or your DIY store. The likelihood is they'll have a load of pallets that are not recyclable, or they're damaged, or they come from further afield, so they can't be reused. So that's what you've got to watch out for though. You might find, especially now the UK has left the European Union and doesn't have the governance as it had before, some of the pallets coming into the UK might be chemically treated, not heat treated. So you've got to be careful of that, obviously what you're going to be using it for. And obviously, for a start, don't try and burn it, because it'll be toxic. But if they're from the EU, if they're like EPAL pallets and what have you, they're going to be heat treated. So they should be safe. They don't have no bugs in them either. But also, they shouldn't be chemically treated. And like hey, see that pallet there? EPAL. And normally these pallets are exchangeable, they have a deposit on them. But obviously that one was obviously rejected, I imagine. Well, I didn't steal it, it was put on the rubbish pile. And they let you help yourself, they do. So anyway, that's what I do with my pallets, and I make stuff like this owl house here. Yeah, for the owl, that's got to go on the wall, that has. But also bat roosts, bird boxes and stuff like that. But you could use the boards for anything. It's wood. That's all it is wood. I don't necessarily recommend putting them through a planer or anything like that. You could do, but you know, you've got to be a little bit wary, because you might end up taking some chunks at your plane irons if you plane your irons. If you've managed, or knives, sorry, not irons, planer knives. If you haven't managed to get all your nails, get the worms out in a minute. If you haven't managed to get all your nails out, you don't want to do that. But an angle grinder with a sanding disc in it, such as like a Velcro sanding pad with discs, 40 to 60 grips, something like that, are ideal. They work quite well, but do it outside because the dust is horrendous. It really is. Anyway, it's time for me to go, so I'm going to say ta-ta, you know, and I hope you have a lovely weekend. Oh, the sun. It's still got its hat on, but it's going to be setting. It is, in the valley. And I think we're going to have a nice sunset today, looking at that. Oh no, maybe not, it's gone cloudy. Oh dear. It's just peering through the clouds. Oh well. Anyway, like I say, have a lovely day. Ta-ta!